Synopsis of the Books of the Bible. Mark. By JND Darby. New Testament. The Gospel of Mark. Chapter 5. The demoniac delivered from Satan's power, called to serve in Jesus' absence. But, in another sense, they are not with him. They are called to serve when he quits the scene of his labor. We learn this from the demoniac legion, Mark 5, delivered from his miserable condition. Man, and Israel in particular, was completely under the power of the enemy. Christ, as to the work of his power, completely delivered the one in whose behalf this power was exercised. He is clothed, not naked, in his right mind and sitting at the feet of Jesus to hear his words. But the people of the place are afraid, and send Jesus away. What the world has done with Christ, and in the history of the herd of swine, we have the picture of Israel after the remnant has been healed. They are unclean, and Satan drives them to destruction. Now, when Jesus departs, he who had personally experienced the mighty effects of his love would have liked to be with him, but he was to go home and bear testimony to those around him of all that Jesus had done. He was to serve in the absence of Jesus. In all these narratives we see the work and the devotedness of the servant, but at the same time, the divine power of Jesus manifested in this service. Healing of incurable disease, and life given to the dead. In the circumstances that follow the cure of the demoniac, we find the true position of Jesus portrayed in his work. He is called upon to heal the daughter of Jairus, even as he came to heal the Jews, had that been possible. As he went toward the house of Jairus to perform this work, a poor incurable woman touches the hem of his garment with faith and is instantly healed. This was the case with Jesus during his passage among the Jews. In the multitude that surrounded him, some souls through grace touched him by faith. In truth, their disease was in itself incurable, but Jesus had life in himself according to the power of God, and faith drew out its virtue by touching him. Such are brought to acknowledge their condition, but they are healed. Outwardly he was in the midst of all Israel, faith reaped the benefit in the sense of its own need and of the glory of his person. Now, with respect to the one who was the object of his journey, the remedy was unavailing. Jesus finds her dead but does not miss the object of his journey. He raises her again, for he can give life. Thus too with respect to Israel. On the way, those who had faith in Jesus were healed, incurable as they were in themselves, but in fact, as to Israel, the nation was dead in trespasses and sins. Apparently, this put a stop to the work of Jesus. But grace will restore life to Israel in the end. We see the perfect grace of Jesus intercepting the effect of the bad tidings brought from the ruler's house. He says to Jairus, as soon as the messenger has told him of his daughter's death, and the inutility of troubling the master any farther, "Be not afraid, only believe." In effect, although the law restores life to a dead Israel in the end of the ages, nevertheless it is by faith that it takes place. The case of the poor woman, although in its direct application it does not go beyond the Jews, yet applies in principle to the healing of every Gentile who, through grace, is brought to touch Jesus by faith. This history then gives the character of his service, the manner in which on account of man's condition, it had to be accomplished.